I think it is time for NXT to take over.
Suplex City, bitch.
What's your favorite match?
My favorite match was with Melina and Alicia Fox.
Who?
I told my father I'm gonna set up my own lucha league in America, and I'm gonna make it the best league in the world.
I'm gonna leave him in a pile of blood and urine and vomit.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. The wrestling podcast will review every match of Ultima Lucha. Yes, we do indeed. It is that episode, and we do give you the wrestling news of the week and all that other stuff as well. My name, as the host of this fantastic show that has near on 350 subscribers, that's right, I can allow myself to use fiddy because... 350. My name is Turbo Tony. I almost forgot to say my name after that big elaborate intro there, but still, I got a little bit too excited. I got just a little bit too excited there. But I don't do this alone, guys. I don't do this alone. I do this with my partner in crime, the man who is confident, as I have said it before, that he could last longer than 34 seconds in bed with Ronda Rousey. It's Matt Marsander.
I don't think I could.
You don't think you could?
No, I think she'd make I probably could, but I don't know whether I could last 34 seconds before crying.
Oh, okay. I think one of the best comments I ever saw about that was, if Ronda Rousey cheated on me, I would apologise. I thought that was the best comment. You know, I thought that was brilliant. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a tough one because it's like trying to get. I want to watch Ultima Lucha so bad, and it's like everything else has a result. Like I've watched Ultima Lucha in Tough Enough. It's been an odd week.
Yeah.
Like I've watched Summer for Raw.
Yeah, well, you know, we are going to be... I watched
like the first hour, and then I had to like literally catch up on like WWE's YouTube highlights for the rest of it. I was like, nope, Lucha comes first.
Yeah, I mean, guys, come on, like, are you really gonna like, poo-poo on Matt for going, I chose to watch Ultima Lucha first? No, I don't think anyone's gonna, I told you to do it, so I can't say shit.
Yeah, you're the advocate.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. So yeah, it is the Ultima Lucha finale that we're going to be reviewing here on the show. That is the meat and bones of this particular episode, and we've been looking forward to be talking to some Lucha Underground for a couple of weeks. So obviously we can review in total their big 2-part showing, 3 hours in total, and we'll obviously go through that. And we'll see. We do have a Raw review. We'll be going through that. Not as much as we not taking as much time as we usually do, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Of course. Matt, if people want to ask us questions or follow the latest LTW buzz, what is the Twitter handle?
The Twitter handle that you speak of regarding to at Talk WrestlePod?
That is the one. The fabled Twiddlehander. Yes.
Twiddle.
I fucked that up royally, but still, Twitter handle given to us by the gods of wrestling, bestowed upon us, and only you, Matt, have the power to use the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast official Twitter. So there is that. Maybe I'm building this up a little bit too much. No, of course not. Matt,
fine.
Is it time to give them the announcement? Do you think they're ready for the announcement?
Sorry, I'm just flicking through. No.
What the fuck?
Sorry, I've just been completely thrown off. I was like, what's she talking about Twitter? I'm just quickly flicking through. And Wade Barrett's going around Sydney with a cricket bat.
That is actually good. I like that. For our American audiences, we just thrashed them in the cricket, and we're the only two countries really that still care about what's going on in cricket. Maybe some of the Sri Lanka and stuff like that.
West Indies.
West Indies and India, but still, you know what I mean. But anyway, the announcement, Matt. We've got to build this up, Matt. We've got to build it up. The announcement. Are they ready for the announcement? Do you think they're ready?
I think we should wait.
We should wait.
I think suspense. I think soon we shall feed them in, and then later we shall probably see whether they are yet again worthy.
I think you might be right there, Matt. However, to get the big announcement, this is in regards to this is probably the biggest announcement that we've done for the podcast ever, would you say? It's good. I'm not Dixie Cartering this shit. This is exciting, is it not?
Yeah.
Right. So
It'd be a chain.
the only way that you can view the announcement is by sticking with the show. We're not going to say you don't have to go through bullshit ways, but obviously, if you want to get the full thing, obviously you can go on to our Twitter handle at Talk Wrestle Pod. As Matt said earlier on, it's something myself and Matt we were working on. I was looking into doing for the podcast something very special, and we were going to do it for the 100th episode. We may do it, however, because things have been working so well, we may be bringing it forward. And it may be very soon. That's the only thing. Matt, I think I've said more than enough. Maybe more than I should.
I think that's a sneaky peek.
A sneaky peek into the announcement. So, guys, prepare yourself to be titillated, I think is the word. Yeah, titillated in regards to the announcement. Let's get on to the show anyway without any further titillating for you there, Matt. Just said it one more time, just so you'd like it. Let's get into the news. Not much news this week. We picked out a few doozies. Matt bought us a doozy, which he's going to let us know at the end of this news section. Let's talk a little bit about Tough Enough. Now, obviously, everyone knows our views on Tough Enough. I don't think we have to
How is Tough Enough news?
Well, it happened throughout the week, Well, it's news because I'm basically giving the viewership numbers. And basically, the reason why it's news is because it kind of validates everything that we've said about the show. They lost another 100,000 viewers. They're down to about 850,000 now, which, Matt, as you know, is pretty pathetic, to be honest. And I'm sure USA are not obviously happy with this. I like I said, I skipped last week. I missed that whole debacle with Marta getting eliminated, even though apparently Miz saved Amanda because she's hot. Yeah. It doesn't actually surprise me, which is quite sad in its own right. But in this show, if you guys care, you probably already watched it if you do, and if you don't, then you're in our camp. Chelsea got eliminated this week. Paige ended up using her save on Gigi, which she should have done because Gigi is probably the best of the girls. But she's not going to win because Sarah Lee will win, and yada yada.
Somehow.
You see how this goes.
Same as ZZ. Like ZZ's going to win.
Well, I'm sure that WWE will. I'm sure WWE will try. I mean, they're trying now to put him in a very negative light.
Yeah, I mean, hell, they're at one point, their YouTube channel was flooded with Billy Guns having a winch sort of thing, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, 2-minute clips of them basically shouting at ZZ.
Of him essentially, ZZ, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm sure WWE will do it. I mean, I listened to a podcast with Patrick, and his wording of it was the way that it was portrayed. I think that's the word of it there, because he was saying, "Oh, do you think that the way that you talked down ZZ, do you think that's the reason why you got voted off?" And he said, "Yes, because of the way it was portrayed, right?" Then they're not the exact words, but he was definitely alluding to that fact, and he did use the way it was portrayed. He did use it in that sort of thing.
So I never actually got round to listening to it. I noticed that he was on a podcast.
Yeah.
With good old JR.
The only thing about it, right, we're going to go through podcasts later on because obviously there's a few podcasts that I want to talk about. But we'll allude to this one now. I listened to that one, and the only thing I dislike about JR, right, is that sometimes when he's talking to someone, he will do the talking himself. Like to the Jim Ross to guest talking ratio, it's really out of whack, and on that one it's pretty much a lot of the time it's him talking about things, and then Patrick's like, "Oh yes, sure, yes," and I mean,
it's please someone agree with me.
Yeah. I mean, I love JR, but it's just his podcast, it doesn't really resonate with me that much.
How can we not love JR?
He's amazing. Like I said, I'm just saying. But in regards to the show, apparently we're hearing that Vince loves Josh. I mean, we didn't even need to hear news about that. Jesus.
Vince loves Josh. What a shock.
What a shock, yeah.
Oh, is that the big guy? Yeah.
I think the two people are going to win the show. I mean, it probably will be Sarah Lee, right? I think Vince doesn't have an issue with her, right? But I think Josh will probably end up winning the show because, it's the one that Vince wants to win anyway.
Because they'll force it.
They will force it.
But the worst part is, and the votes are in. Not that it mattered.
Yeah.
Like ZZ will get like no votes. And it's like that's complete bullshit.
Well, I don't even think they'll rig it. They'll just portray ZZ one week as being this one guy who, who's suddenly not humble anymore. I mean, that definitely seemed to see how they tried to portray Patrick that week, along those lines.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm still hurting about that because you listen to the guy now and like, man, he's got potential. WWE should just keep tabs on him, really should. But yeah, I didn't want to talk too much about Tough Enough. I mean, man, we did an episode, but we talked about half an hour, and I still go back and listen to it now. That was a rather entertaining rant that we had on Tough Enough back then. But the show isn't doing well. USA will definitely not trust Tough Enough again. So if you're going to see,
unless they trust Steve Austin.
Yeah, maybe if Austin comes back in, but still, it's the format of the show. It was never going to work.
I know.
It was never going to work.
It's just one thing. Like we were talking about this actually during the week, is the fact that everyone's just like, "Oh, ZZ." Well, like he's always getting voted. They apparently WWE hate him. That's fine, but they need to look in the mirror and go, we did this to ourselves.
Yes, this is our monster that he needs to do the NWO angle with that, where you remember that infamous promo he did where he's in the chairs. I need to inject it with a lethal dose of poison. That's what he needs to do. Yeah, that'll be fine. But if we're ever going to see Tough Enough again after this season, it will be WWE Network exclusive. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
No, USA ain't taking this. They won't. They will not want this along those lines. So. I do think it's quite funny that the whole ZZ thing, because I just love the fact that it must be giving their management such a headache. It's hilarious. It really is.
Especially he's like, oh, we need to spin this that he's useless. Like everyone's in the boardrooms just like, but he's so charismatic. Everyone loves him. What are we gonna do?
And he's got the thing as well that maybe WWE may end up fucking it up, and they may end up trying to portray him, and then it will almost look like he's being bullied a bit, and then the people will be like, "No, we want to stick up for ZZ because he's being bullied," and suddenly it's like, "Yeah, he wins everything." So, yeah. Moving on anyway from Tough Enough, I think we're beating a dead horse there. The Global Force Wrestling and TNA angle is done, and you may be asking, Matt,
already.
Yeah, that only kind of really started, right? Now, bearing in mind the fact that we didn't really care. Really, what is there really to invade when it comes to TNA nowadays? Their viewership numbers are in the shitter, and they're doing awful as a company,
all their
right?
talents walking.
I mean, especially after, especially after the shenanigans of, them releasing the fucking work. I still haven't got over that, Matt. I still haven't got over it. So anyway, but the reason why I think it's hilarious, right? Anyone in their own right mind that knows the history of TNA and knows the history of Jeff Jarrett, and more so the people who are working, behind the scenes for TNA at the moment, knew that this wasn't going to last, and boy, did it not last very long at all. They've already taped the entirety of the invasion angle, and it's gone. Apparently, the reason why it stopped is because Jarrett and John Gubrick, he's the behind-the-scenes management of TNA, right? They clashed in the way that the show was going to be booked, the angle. So they basically were like, okay, let's just rush it, done, let's move away, and, move it along those lines. So
finished.
Yeah, if there was any fans getting really excited about this, then sorry, you won't get it for much. You probably get it for a couple of shows, and that'll be about it. I mean, TNA, by the way, have done like a ridiculous amount of tapings. It's kind of stupid along these lines. If you want to right now, you can actually go and find like the results for near on the next like 2 months, maybe more, of shows, and it's crazy. It really is. But that's TNA for you. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the only person that really walks away from this with any sort of positives is obviously Jarrett and GFW, because they came in with nothing to lose, and now they've come away with something. They got at least their name out on TV. That's good for them, man.
That's all they really needed it for, though.
And man, Jarrett got backstage. He able to talk to a few people. A few of the TNA guys have already gone over. So Jarrett, basically, you could look at it in the sense that he kind of raided their.
He was just walking around, just fishing for talent. It's like, yeah, I'm here for a story.
These talent, by the way, who are never told anything by management and have been told they're not having guaranteed contracts. Yeah, GFW is going to start looking like a little bit more of a enticing prospect with all the people that are leaving. TNA, it's ridiculous now. But yeah, Jarrett and TNA, it wasn't ever going to last, was it? It wasn't ever going to last.
No.
Let's talk about the other podcast now. Like I said, there isn't actually that much news this week. Not much that me and Matt felt like we were equipped to speak about.
Hey, there's a pregnancy to be worried about here.
There's a what?
There's a pregnancy.
Pregnancy? Oh, Rosa Mendes. Really, Matt? Do you want to bring up Rosa Mendes being pregnant? Congratulations.
The fact that WWE was just like, and like, it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Well, it's like, congratulations for her, but it's a little bit like, why should I care? You're not on TV anyway.
Yeah.
No? I guess Adam Rose is a bit gypped that the odd 5 minutes he gets of like 2 months worth of Raws is gone, but
yeah.
Oh well, but still. Congratulations to Rosa Mendes. I hope that you actually don't really care if you come back. So
yeah,
there you go.
Just take as long as you want.
Take as long as you like. I'm sure you'll be a great mother.
Back. It's fine.
Yeah, fine, awesome. Other podcasts. Now you may be talking to us thinking, are you going to go over the Austin and Paige podcast? I thought there was a few problems with this podcast, and they're twofold. One, it didn't really feel as if Austin and Paige really merged that well. You know, they didn't really. I'm not asking them to become one or anything, but it was like they didn't really.
That's just like one thing I messaged you about not long after I'd seen it. There was like a bit right at the end where Austin asked Paige a question, she answered.
Yeah.
And he asked the same question, he'd just zoned out for a second.
Yeah, it did feel like he had, you know, and it's nothing bad to Paige. She actually, if you've never heard Paige on a podcast, this will actually be quite entertaining for you. And she comes across here way more likable than she does in the Tough Enough stuff, even though she does talk about that. But the fact is that if you're avid podcast listeners, the likeness is you heard this twice already.
Hey, yes and no, I loved her Dusty story.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, there is good stuff to be found here. But I discovered a different, not discovered a different podcast, but an episode of a podcast that I found so much more interesting, Matt. And you know what it is. It is the, Talk is Jericho podcast. So for once, Jericho can actually say, and actually mean it, I outdid Austin this week. Because I think he did, right, personally. Yeah. He had a podcast with The New Day. And what I thought was so interesting about this podcast, when you listen to all the members of The New Day, you've got Woods, Kofi, Biggie, they're talking a lot about the process and of them being, repackaged up as The New Day. And they're extremely true, they're being extremely truthful and extremely blunt about the way they thought things were going up and the way people perceived them and what they were going to be. It's kind of them admitting that Vince is out of touch. And the reason why I say that, Matt, I don't know whether you thought this as well, is that he genuinely thought grouping those three guys up together as a preacher group would be a huge face thing, as in they would be the biggest face tag team on the roster.
Yeah, I'd never quite got that.
Yeah. That was never going to work. I mean, let's just be honest, and apparently, because Jericho honestly couldn't believe it himself when they said to him that Vince had said when obviously they'd gone heel, is that he couldn't understand. He couldn't figure it. He was like, I thought this was a short thing.
Why are you guys heel?
Yeah.
Nobody likes that stuff.
Yeah. So and Chris is trying to spin it along the lines of, we're maybe one of those things that he knew it was going to be, and maybe he's just playing it up. No, I take it that Vince is booking back in the 80s.
Yep.
And you don't have to look that far away from the way Vince books, from the way he books John Cena now. Is exactly how he booked Hulk Hogan back in the day. It's a mirror image, and it's gone back to the fashion of Vince doesn't have competition. What's the one thing that Vince is a junkie for? Paul Heyman said it. He's a junkie for competition.
Yeah.
He can't make competition for himself. So now he's just got lazy. He's probably depressed, right? So now he's just gone back to the Hogan card. He's a genius. He's like a genius lying in wait. Yeah.
It's all going to waste at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, I can do all this stuff, but I don't need to. It's almost like he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
He probably has some genius ideas, waiting, with the trigger poised, but I don't need to fire.
Yeah. What's the point in doing it? Just go the safe route. Whereas you could see what the man could do during the Attitude Era, which, funny enough, goes towards a question we got in our fan feedback, which we're almost out already. But it kind of goes into that where it's like, well, when he's back against the wall, the guy is a genius. Like he is so innately talented, but now he's just like this sleeping giant in terms of how to run these things. That he's honestly now he's reverted back. As soon as he won the Monday Night Wars, he went backwards instead of forwards. So that's the issue there that I think in terms of his thoughts there. But I would go and listen to it. It's no, by all means, people don't get it wrong. He's not slating. New Day aren't slating Vince, but they're extremely honest about the process of them being built up as a team, and the ideas that were in Vince's office each and every week. When they brought up the whole millennials thing and said, when he said that, he mustn't have been talking about us because we were constantly on him, giving him ideas for what to do in part of this team of three. So I thought it was hugely entertaining, and one of the things I liked about it is that unlike the Austin Page,
I didn't even realise I was at the end of it.
Yeah, unlike the Austin Page one where you think that they don't mix that well. Jericho and New Day, literally, it was just one big, joke to them. They were just laughing their asses off the entire time. It was a delight to watch. It's actually one of the best episodes of a podcast, interview-wise, I've heard. So go out and listen to it, guys. It's really good stuff. I mean, I thought I was genuinely shocked. I put it on and I was genuinely shocked how entertaining it was. And I'd love for them to come back on and obviously show more stories and everything because they've all got. I'm going to say this. Kofi's got buckets of charisma, but he's another sleeping giant that only just recently woken up and thought, oh, being a heel was kind of fun, right? So
yeah, I could do this.
I could do that. Yeah. Is there any other podcasts you want to talk about there? We've kind of gone through the main ones of the week.
I can't think of anything, no.
Matt, your news story, please. Deliver it upon to us.
Now. He's already got himself in a bit of trouble for being a racist.
Who could you be talking about, I wonder? Yeah.
He could also be facing some prison time.
Okay, go on.
Hulk Hogan has been lying to judges when sworn on an oath.
Oh, okay.
I've come across full details. So apparently it refers to the sex tape scandal, which I just don't want to think about. Just Hogan's sex tape.
which seems to be like the epicenter of all of his troubles at the moment. Which that one.
And it seems to be just like creeping back in.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems as a result, he sort of the things he's given as statements to both the FBI. I want to say FIB. I've been playing too much GTA.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with the FBI and with actually in the court of law, like under an oath to tell the truth, and it's suddenly it's like, this doesn't add up.
So they basically they're close to proving that he's perverting the course of justice.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Entirely. So it's like.
Do you know what's hilarious about this? Right, Hogan is a famous pathological liar. Right?
Oh yeah.
All of the shit that he said that he was going to be involved with Metallica. Do you remember him saying that? Oh, the people that made the George Foreman grills, they went to him first, and he did, and he.
Oh,
that
we were going to have the Hulk grill or something like that.
He's an infamous liar. Like he's famous for lying out of his teeth.
The worst part is, I can only just imagine that it'd be just like the most terrible commercial ever. It's like, grill your steaks, brother. Yeah. No fat runs through.
But I mean, the people who made the grills, I've come out and said no. We never even got in contact with the guy. Like, it was absolutely so.
It's George's all the way.
So now, obviously, his lies are going to catch up to him. That's going to be interesting because I know perverting the course of justice is a very serious act.
Yeah.
When you're on oath, it's not like all these times where you see all this stuff. If they can prove that you've lied in the court of law, then you're in the shitter. Like. Along those lines. And what's quite funny about this is that it's actually, I think, him pursuing the court proceedings against Gorka, the site that leaked the tape got the tape in the first place. That's what actually is getting a lot of this stuff out. So, I mean, he's kind of, in a weird way, brought all of this upon himself. When he did when he said the words anyway.
Forcing it back into light.
Yeah. So, Yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that. I didn't catch that, so you must have caught that just before it came on, mate. You're like a bloodhound for news like that.
Like, I will find it.
You sniffed it out. So it's just getting worse for the Hulkster. So not been a great couple of weeks for him. But just bring that up as well. I had a comment conversation with one of the listeners in regards to racism. It was like a really good like back and forth. So anyone wants to go back and look at that, it's like loads of comments. I think it was 2 episodes ago now. So yeah, in regards to that, but just in reference to the whole Hogan racism thing, I just to tell everyone when we're doing these topics, they're incredibly difficult to cover and try and make it so we're covering everything as best we can and trying to cover both sides, even though we don't believe in one side, we don't trust in one side, but it's like the way that we try and do it. But hopefully we did it to some semblance of of what's the word, that it was okay, I guess, along those lines.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then we'll obviously we try as best we can to do good stuff like racism, sexism, all this stuff. It's so hard to cover for people that obviously aren't trained to cover it. I mean, come on, we're YouTube wrestling podcasters. Like we didn't go to sensitivity training or anything along those lines, but still, just going on like that. Fan feedback, Matt. You ready for some fan questions?
I am indeed.
I am ready. So Crimson Omega says it's been confirmed that Kevin Owens will take on his toughest opponent at WrestleMania. It's going to be Miz TV's chair, which he had an alteration on this week on Raw, which you probably didn't catch, so you probably don't get that joke.
I did see it.
Oh, you did?
I saw the highlights.
Oh, wow. Well, the chair definitely got one over on Owens. Should we call it Owens 1? Chair 1.
But this was Owens just basically just like, oh, you think that's funny? It's like, yes, good, he's spinning it so well. Like in the same way that his English messed up a little bit, and he's like, when he was cutting a promo against Cena, he's like, you know what? This isn't even my first language anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so quick off the mark, isn't he?
Yeah.
By the way, that isn't his question. No, it's just a funny statement that Omega likes to break out on us every now and then, which we do appreciate.
You said I hadn't seen it.
Well, I didn't know. You said you haven't seen some. I was just trying to be,
I caught you out there.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe I have seen it all.
Maybe you're holding your cards a bit close to your chest. Maybe that's the way it is. Oh, I see how it is, Matt. We used to be on the same side. You son of a bitch. Yeah. Yeah. His real question is, he asks, whose championship title run? He's got 2 questions, by the way. Whose championship title run was bigger, Seth Rollins or Brock Lesnar's? We're obviously talking about the most recent title runs, Now, this is an awkward one, right? And I guess it's obviously quite personal because it's in regards to how do you measure a successful title run? Do you measure it in the amount of defenses it's had, the quality of matches it's had on it, or how box office and how interesting those matches have been? So everyone's going to have a different response to this, and all of them, it's obviously a personal question. None of them are wrong, and none of them are particularly correct. It's all about the way that you would book, or the way what you make as your most pressing feature of what a champion should be for your company. Should he always be there? Should he be a big draw? Matt, what do you think? What was better, Rollins or Brock's? What do you think? I know mine.
I'm gonna go with Brock.
Okay, but why? Why? That's the interesting part of this question.
Because I find it. He was the sort of like, not necessarily the conqueror or anything like that, but it was sort of like, let's call it Mortal Kombat, for example. Brock Lesnar is your Shao Kahn.
Yeah.
He only turns up when he has to turn up, and that's when you really need to bring your A game.
Yeah, like the way that I've always used him is that he's box office.
Yeah,
like
that's it. So like all he has to do is like, yeah, you can float around, but the moment you think you want to step up and be a big dog in the yard, then that's when Lesnar will come down onto Raw and just go, oh, okay, cool. We'll sign that contract and let's see if you're right. And guess what? You're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong, because I'm Brock Lesnar.
Because he'll probably break them at the contract signing.
Now, my answer to this is the same. I thought Brock's was better, because I view it in regards to how interesting and how must-watch the matches that Lesnar had in comparison to Rollins. No one has needed to watch a Seth Rollins title defense. Arguably, the only one he had to was Lesnar, but you have to scratch it off because I think that's more Lesnar than Rollins, you know?
Yeah.
Brock does have the issue here where he was away for about 4 months, right? Or 3 or 4 months, and he didn't have any title defenses in that period. That was damaging, right? We have to accept that, right? That does damage his title run. But I think any time that you had Brock around, I think that was a really big deal. And it's nothing bad towards Seth. It's just, you know, he has to suffer with being the face that's most shown over 3 hours every Monday. So naturally, people are going to get sick of you. It's not so much that they'll hate you; they'll just be sick of seeing you, which is the other way. People want to see Lesnar. People are kind of like, I can go a week without. In fact, I kind of need a break from Seth Rollins, you know, at the moment. So. Yeah, no, I'll go with Lesnar. But like I said, it's all about what personally people think and deem as their most, what's their top priority in a champion. So everyone's gonna have different reasons why they would pick one or the other. I would just go with Brock. But his other question is, do we think that the WWE title is defended too much? He thinks it is. The title should be defended 6 times a year. Well, that's what he says, not myself, but that's what he said. So he thinks that only 6 times in the year should the WWE title be defended. Now, my answer to that is I do think with the network, it's easier to have the defenses less. But I think 6 is too short. I actually don't mind the traditional 12, as in 1 each pay-per-view. Maybe skip 1 pay-per-view because they have like 13 now, don't they? Or sometimes they're probably going to have about 14.
Yeah.
And then maybe you add in a shock defense on Raw, you know, on these big editions of Raw, you know, that you really want to build up, and make them big and, you know, a big deal that they're going to be defended, you know, make them very well advertised along those lines. That it's going to happen. The reason why I think WWE has a problem with their title matches meaning a lot is that in large, they don't protect. I mean, the WWE Championship just doesn't really go along this particular method, but they don't do a great job of protecting their champions. Now, Seth is different because his character is that he's a slimy sleazeball, right? That he's trying to get out of these matches, and he's a heel, right? You want to see him get beaten, so when he gets DQ'd or manages to get away with the belt, that kind of goes with his character, right? But one of the other issues that they have is that they have an extremely hot-cold mentality when pushing their contenders. The fact is that they'll have a contender, even if he loses, then he won't. Like, look at Ambrose, right? He wrestled 2 main event matches for the title, and then at the pay-per-view,
and great main event matches as well.
Yeah, but at the next pay-per-view, Matt, he didn't even have a match.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit along the lines that is the problem, you know, that they don't have great contenders. I mean, my idea is a bit, you know, orthodox if you look at it in the sense, the old school. The way that I would push a challenger is that you have like a 6-month plan, right? So you go from this guy, he's going to be the challenger in 6 months and he's going to win the belt. But at the same time, you don't have the champion then constantly, you know, like, you don't have the champion switching around. You need to have a champion that's worthy, you know, you need to have him have a decent long reign. And then it's just kind of, you know, cyclical if you look at it that way. It's just a 6-month plan that you go along. And then maybe you can shake it up every now and then, make the shock and stuff. But that's the way I would go around it, you know. But what do you think, Matt? Is 6 too short? What's the number of title defenses?
I don't care for a number of title defenses. I don't want to go as far as to say 6 is too short, but I don't care as long as it's built correctly.
Yeah, I get you.
Like, I could see, like, 2 title defenses, but if it's been this, like, proper, drawn-out, well done, not, like, some pathetic, just like, nah, just we're chasing each other around and all that lot. Like, what was a good example? Triple H and Randy Orton. You know when they had that feud?
Yeah.
That was drawn out. That was quite long-winded, and it got really intense. And that actually helped it. So I think even if it was for a title, but the same sort of things happened, like, I don't care, because then it's built up and it's become personal, it's become a story, rather than just sort of like, why am I doing it? Because I can.
Yeah, I get you.
Fighting you. Like, oh, John Cena, oh, you're like the best ever, but I'm like better than you, so yeah.
I tell you
okay, and that's now we've got a SummerSlam match.
Yeah.
Really?
I tell you what one of the main issues that WWE has a problem with not having number one contendership matches.
Yeah.
No challenger for any belt seemingly goes through a number one contendership match recently. It's like you just get in their face, say a couple of things, you've got a title match.
Yeah.
It's like,
you're going to fight it out for the belt.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't earned it.
So it would instantly make a lot of their ridiculously useless matches, unnecessary matches, have some meaning. If it's like, well, this match is actually for the number one contendership for the WWE Championship. The winner of this match will challenge the champion at next month's pay-per-view. WWE seemingly doesn't want number one contenders anymore. It's quite odd. You know, I find that as an issue. So yeah, I think your answer there is, Matt, is you don't care how many they do as long as they do them right, sort of thing. Yeah. With me, I think the traditional 12. Maybe I'm too old school in that sense. I don't have an issue with that. But if you want to go shorter than 12, man, I've got no problems. But I think going over that.
I'd go 12 as long as it's like well structured.
I think over 12 as well, even if it is well structured, then that becomes an issue because you're going over one per
every
pay-per-view.
other week.
Yeah, there is a problem with that. So
like, shit, we got a second champion and we haven't even hit the pay-per-view yet.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, I don't think the defense is the number is an issue. It's WWE's. I think like I said, they need to build up the challenges more. I think that it's just way too forced, and that's creative. I'm not sure if that's a Vince or that's just the new creative team style. The way they want these challenges to be built, it just doesn't seem great. That the authority decide who's going to be the champion, but that guy never wrestles anyone to win the chance to win that. It's odd. I don't like it. Thomas Miller asks if we would prefer the American Badass Undertaker for the match against Brock Lesnar, the rematch, as Brock defeated the Streak. Would it be? Would we like him to use that gimmick for this match? I think that's the crux of the question here.
Because he defeated the Phenom, we now get the American Badass.
Well, the way I looked at it, right, is that I actually kind of like the idea a little bit, and the reason being is because Brock defeated the Streak, he you could use in quotations that he kind of killed the dead man, right? Paul Heyman could probably use that in his thing. So now it's a match that's less about the mystique and the glory of the Undertaker. It's more of I'm a man fighting another man because he took something away from me. It's more personal. It's like it's not the Undertaker defeating a mystical Streak. It's the Undertaker wanting to kick the shit out of this guy because he feels wronged, right?
Yeah.
The character of the Undertaker shouldn't really feel that way if you look at it in that sense. He should be like, I always thought it was weird in storyline that the Undertaker, this guy, this mystical being, suddenly just got really bitter all of a sudden and suddenly just didn't want people talking about people breaking the streak. It always came off as a bit of a stupid reason. If you come in and humanize him a little bit, then maybe it makes a little bit more sense. It's like, okay, well, this is Taker, and maybe he comes in, I'm not saying full American Badass, but toned down a little bit of the dead man persona, along those lines. But I know why they won't do it, because the gimmick he's running with now is what everyone associates him with, and it just, like, WWE aren't going to take any risks. If he's only going to do one date, then there's no point to them.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with that as well. But No, I don't see it being completely out of the realm, especially in such a heated personal rivalry like this. Sure, yeah, why not? I don't have too much of a problem with it, but also know why WWE doesn't do it. Are you on the same train of thought, or do you not see it work? Do you not think it's good enough at all?
I want Dead Man. Just Dead Man.
You,
Dead. Dead, dead.
you got no inclination of
No,
having the American
no
badass.
badass, nothing. Like, just the Dead Man.
Okay. So I'm a little bit more open to it.
No.
No, okay, okay, cool.
I'm like stuck in the WWE mindset. No.
Yeah, no. Don't need it. Caleb Duckworth asks, "What is the worst era slash period WWE ever had? Is it the era of today? You know," he says, considering how bad things are at the moment. And what was our favourite era along those times? And he says that he thinks he knows what our answer will be. Matt, would you like to go first, or will I go first?
I will let you go first.
Okay. So, I think it would be too vague to say that the Attitude Era was my favourite. It certainly is, but I think I would like to put in quotations, or put it as a bracket, and say that the Monday Night War of 97 to 99, that was my favourite time, right? That was a really fun time. You know, that's before the Attitude Era. That was WCW getting their shit together with the NWO and all that stuff. That was just really, really fun. And obviously, as WCW started tailing off, WWE was picking up with the Attitude Era with Austin. So, if you'd switched over at the right time, Jesus, did you get a really great product at that time between two
definitely
warring places? So, yeah, technically, you are right with that assumption. Right? I'm guessing that's what you assumed. But yeah, I would say the Monday Night Wars was probably my most favourite. And people might say, "Oh, the golden age of wrestling was great." I was just a little bit too young at that time really to appreciate it firsthand, so it doesn't last in my head nearly as much. So I'm basically going from the heart, in regards to that. In terms of worst, it's very easy to say nowadays is the worst because we're suffering in it now, right? We're living it, right? It hurts now to watch the 3 hours of Raw. And there is a good thing. I think having the 3 hours definitely is a big deal of it maybe being the worst. But I think back to just before 97. I'm talking about the 94 to 96 WWE, which I like to call the Saturday morning cartoon era. Now, I'm going to list off some gimmicks that came out then, and then maybe our fans can decide just the reason why that particular era was pretty damn painful as well. Papa Shango, Max Moon, the Dumpster, the Goon, Isaac Yankem, and my personal non-favourite, Mantor. And you wonder then why...
How can you hate Mantor? How dare you hate on Mantor?
I can hate Mantor. Jesus Christ! Of course I can hate Mantor. Yeah. Because we look at back now, and it was ridiculous. At the time, it was a little bit like, what? Okay. Wait, what are you doing?
Not to mention, you're talking early Kane as well.
Yeah, Isaac Yankem, right? The dentist.
The dentist, yeah.
The Goon was, a hockey player. Yeah, because got the name of the Goon. The guy that fights all the hockey players and all that lot.
That I remember.
Max,
they suddenly like penny drops.
But Max Moon, right? And guys, that's just like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to. There were far more in the 93, 96 roughly about time, where Vince wanted WWE to be the cartoony and along those lines and have all these larger than life characters apparently.
Like almost in like a belief that they were safe. Like, we're safe. Let's have fun with it. It's like,
that's it. It's quite funny now because when you look at the likes of like Los Matadores now with El Torito, talking of Mantor, and the bunny stuff like that. There are some shades of the booking in that time showing up now. So take of that what you will. I'm not going to say which one was, if it's now or back then was my personal worst, but. Like I said, I don't want to say now because we're living in it, but back then it was pretty bad. What about you, Matt? Best and worst eras?
I got to agree with your worst. I can't think of many others times where it's just like, this is terrible. Like the thing is, like we could say like now, but at least we're actually getting some good wrestling out of this year. This current era, with the reality era or whatever it's now going to go down in history as. Like we're getting talent. We're getting like, especially considering if you look back, WWE are now considering that there are other businesses out there. Like they're pulling in, like you look at NXT and the big five of NXT, they're not WWE made guys. They're all people that they have gone, right, there are rings elsewhere. There are other stadiums filled with other brands and they are popular. So I couldn't say that the current era or the era that we're about to face is the worst. I have to agree with you with your sort of like what you refer to as the cartoon era.
Yeah, the Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
What about best though? Come on, you can't look too far away from mine, surely.
I'm not looking too far.
Okay.
But I loved Attitude. Of course, I love the Attitude era.
Yeah. So is that what you're going with?
But I will just choose a completely contradicting one.
Okay.
It's like, it's not Attitude Era, and he is there, but at least it's not to the same extent. It's still early days, and he hasn't got his superpowers yet.
Oh.
I'm referring to Ruthless Aggression Era.
Okay. Fair enough. Like that was the SmackDown, where SmackDown was amazing.
Where SmackDown was peak, yeah. When you had Paul Heyman running SmackDown.
Jeez, that was back then. SmackDown. Jesus Christ, that was a show to watch, wasn't it?
You had, Batista, Taker. What was it? Batista, Taker, Triple H, Edge.
Oh, Triple H was Raw, but you had Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking at the list there already, and you're going, "What the fuck?" Hulk Hogan earlier, maybe not during that time.
Just
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're talking about an era where it's just like, and there was some great matches and some great events. Like as much as we kept saying, like, "Oh, we're going to go back and we're going to watch SummerSlam 01." Was it 01?
No, 02.
02.
Yeah.
It was like, I haven't finished watching it back yet, but I have started watching it back, and it's like, I forgot how great this was.
Yeah.
Even just the opening match. Like, sometimes like it dictates the pace, but this was like so good because we had Angle versus Rey Mysterio, and it's like such a good match.
Oh, so good. Yeah, and that was like Mysterio back when he was trying to make a point,
Yeah.
It was. We will eventually review SummerSlam 02 because it is one of my favourite pay-per-views, and literally start to finish, you can't find much better in terms of an overall pay-per-view than that. And it was, you look at the star power, Jesus Christ, on that show, top to bottom, it's unreal, right?
Yeah.
They go from that match that you said, Mysterio and Angle. They go to that to Flair against Jericho, I believe. And
yeah, Flair. Well, I don't know if it was after, but yeah, Flair.
It was on the show, right?
Definitely on it.
They go Guerrero and Edge, right? And then later on the show, you've got Triple H and Shawn Michaels
in their street fight match,
and then Rock against Brock.
You had Brock, and you had, who did he face? Benoit with the IC title faced off against.
You're trying to get this off memory. I don't know this, by the way, so I'm going off my memory. So you've got to try out memory me now for this. Can you do it? Make a wild guess at least, and we can look at it later. I'm listening to see if you're typing Google, by the way.
I'm not. I am not.
I'm sure that we've got like some of the fans now pressing their ears up against
lost beyond me.
Well, maybe if you.
That's it. I concede. Google, give me the answer.
Oh, okay. Well, you find that then.
Explodes.
You find that then, and I'm sure there's someone out there who just like knows it offhand. And if you do, then fantastic. Yeah, I love those lines. As you find that, Matt, I will move on. That's all the questions that we had there for the. Oh, you got it. Go on.
I have it. No, I have a Twitter question.
A Twitter question. Oh, okay. Well, bring that up.
So that basically goes back to the Twitter feed, And
I feel like he's betrayed me for you, Matt. I have to say.
that's fine. He can stay on my side of the court.
Fair enough.
And it was so we have to own up our guilty pleasure favorite wrestler.
A guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. Well, one that we like that we shouldn't like.
Yeah, let me get the actual tweet. So, yeah, own up, lads. Who are your biggest guilty pleasure wrestlers? I've no idea why, but Santino has his moments of brilliance.
Yeah, I see. Where I think of Santino, I don't have too much of an issue with Santino. I don't see him really as a guilty pleasure. I guess I don't know. Maybe don't know why. What does anyone come up to the top of you? I might have buried mine so deep out of fear that I will be chastised.
Oh, there was another match that we forgot about.
Go on.
Right, it was Benoit versus RVD.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also had tag team championships.
Okay.
Booker T and Goldust versus the Un-Americans.
Oh, okay.
Taker versus Test.
Jeez, that show, man. That show.
Crazy.
So, guilty pleasures. I don't know, man. I don't know. The Hurricane, man. I love the Hurricane. Maybe that's a guilty pleasure.
Man, yeah.
I thought the Hurricane was brilliant back in the day. I thought he was awesome.
And you could always just become one of his superheroes in training.
Yes, exactly. The shit, right? You can be that. So I didn't like it when he got like his crew together, though. You know, when he got like the superhero in training, Rosie, right? But
Yeah.
no, I had fun with, especially with him with The Rock, right? Hurricane with The Rock, that's just gold right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, if you've never seen it, just YouTube it. It's Rock at his very best, right? It's amazing. The Hamburglar, you know, finding all that, you know.
Yeah.
Was it the all the other stuff he said on it, like The Rock's got a tiny ding-a-ling and all his eyes, brilliant. That makes me laugh. So yeah, I'll go with Hurricane for mine. I can't think of any other off the top of my head. So, what about you, Matt?
The worst thing is, like, I can't think. Like, some people would say, because like one of my favorites is Goldust. At one point, that's like some people go, that's a real guilty pleasure, considering it's like he's really fucking weird.
But you look at his early days, and Jesus, he was. Yeah, he really was.
Exactly. But I'm just sort of like, yeah, well, that could be it. I don't know.
So you like Goldust, Matt? What's up with that?
Goldust. I do, but that's like it's really odd because it's like, but that's not weird anymore. Everyone should like Goldust.
Oh dear. So, by the way, randomly now, I'm just gonna have to say what's up with that? Very high pitch.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? You know, just all that. So, yeah, guilty pleasures, fair enough. Maybe Matt just likes, the taste of chocolate. You know, like Ahmed Johnson, Goldust style, right? Yeah. Okay. Ultima Lucha, Matt. Let's talk about Ultima Lucha, boy.
Ultima, of course.
We have been waiting very long to speak in depth about Lucha Underground. It's actually our first Lucha Underground review on the channel, so we're actually quite excited for it. If you've never caught Lucha Underground before, it's actually quite hard to get your hands on if you're outside of the US. But it's a brand of wrestling that is.
I don't know. El Rey do pretty good putting stuff up on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean they actually put what I thought was probably one of the most entertaining matches of the entire show for free on their YouTube channel, so you can go see that.
Yeah.
Which was Vampiro against Pentagon Jr. Just a little bit of background about Lucha Underground. If you've never seen it before, we love it, but we would not begrudge anyone if they didn't. And the reason being is because Lucha Underground treats wrestling far differently from what you and what WWE has made the majority of fans perceive wrestling to be, right?
Yeah.
Lucha Underground has a story where they take, not very seriously, but they take it seriously enough that if something happens, it happens. They don't just fuck up their continuity, right? They actually have a decent story that's bombastic. It's crazy, right? That in the Lucha Underground world, guess what? You can die. Your character can die, right?
Yeah.
There's already been a character that has been killed by another character, and there would be another character that would get killed on Ultima Lucha. So it kind of, it's got this really crazy, Lucha inspired stories that some people would if they can't detach themselves from it a little bit, then they would just go, "This is just too silly for me, right? It's just too crazy." And like I said, I wouldn't begrudge anyone. For me, who is craving something different from WWE, and man, someone laughed at us once when we said that Lucha Underground has better production value than WWE. Guys, watch Lucha Underground. There's sometimes that they outperform in terms of production WWE.
I can understand why someone would say that's wrong, but I think it's different. I think they're not going. WWE and Lucha Underground have two completely different feels, like proper different vibes about it. Like it's underground and it's like you'd expect to sort of like the only way you'd know where this fight was is if someone like texts you the location. Like that's how Lucha Underground feels.
Yeah, but in terms of the way
the
that they shoot
production
it,
of that, it's amazing to do that.
Yeah, but
the fact that they
no, go on.
Okay, like I recently listened to a podcast with Austin and John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, and they're like, it's so different because it's TV. Like they don't do it on the fly, and their promos and their backstage segments are proper done like TV.
Yeah,
and I think that gives something a bit more to it because like there's one that will always stick in my head is the backstage with Big Rick, and he's going on about like how like this isn't a business for being like family, it's a business for making money, and it stuck with me because it's just like that's really good
because
who was Big Zeke, and he didn't really get a great deal done in WWE, but now he's given this opportunity, and it's like that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, one of the good things that I like about Lucha Underground with those backstage segments is, yeah, they're actually done in a way that's so different from what any other wrestling company does. It's not that they're going for the realistic view. Realism and Lucha Underground just don't go hand in hand. They don't accept it, and they want to be bombastic, right? So when they're going for these backstage segments, right, and with these truly, truly larger than life characters, the production value is like you said, Matt. You could put it as a show on television, and it wouldn't look anything different. It look like it fits, you know. And the camera angles when they actually do the action, the sound design, everything I think is on point. That's when I say production values. Just because they're not in a stadium that can fit 16,000 people, that's not what production value is. Production value is how well they capture the footage of what they're doing. It's phenomenal at Lucha Underground. It far surpasses TNA easy.
Yeah.
So you have to give them props to that. But as I said, I can admit some people just won't take to it. Some people, like my wife, for instance, she watched it. She could understand why people liked it. Didn't really resonate with her, right? For someone like me, it's like, this is awesome, right? This is amazing. But still. But it's one of those things that if you do like it, you don't just like it, you will fucking love it, right? It's not one of those things you're, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of like it, I'll watch it. It's like, wow, I fucking adore this, right? I've never seen anyone that's been half in when it comes to Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
It's like, it's either you love it or you haven't got time for it, and you know that's okay, right?
I love it, but unfortunately I don't have the time for it, and it's really disappointing.
Yeah. Well, now, quite sadly, it's not going to be around until season 2, and they're probably going to have a big break. But still, we'll see. So we're going to talk about all the backstage segments because they actually did quite a few of them. Well, not that many, but they did like a big montage at the end that sets things up for season 2. We'll talk about that at the end. We're going to go through the matches. They start off. So basically, guys. This is a 3-hour show, but they split it up. So you've got the first hour in that was last week, and you've got the 2-hour special which aired this week. But we're going to go through the first hour as well. So we're going to go through all of it. So the first match of the first part is the Mac versus They Call Him Cage. They called him Cage. We call him Cage, but they call him Cage as well. Do you call him Cage?
I would call him Cage.
You call him Cage? Okay. Let's Talk Wrestling calls him Cage. That's the way it is.
Unanimous Cage.
Yeah, that's it. By the way, guys, you're going to be hearing a lot of names that you obviously never heard us talk about before. So I would, if you haven't, then I'll just fucking Google's your friend. YouTube's your friend. Go find out some of these guys.
That's it.
So this is a great opener to the show. I thought that this is. I thought that some of the matches that came up after it struggled to keep up to the pace that these two opening guys set because it was very quick, very impactful. These guys were kicking the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And I love that, because basically they don't even wait. They barely spend any time in the ring. They're just, because it's a Falls Count Anywhere match. They're basically taking it all on the outside.
That's it. It's Falls Count Anywhere. So why the fuck are we stood here?
Yeah.
Let's go.
But the cool thing about Lucha Underground is that, like, if you're fans and you're sitting at ringside, it's almost like at a comedy club show. You go to a comedy club, you sit in the front row, you expect to be, picked out and joked upon, right? It's the way things are. In Lucha Underground, if you're in the first row, you're gonna have a wrestler draped across your chairs, right? That's the way it is, right?
You're gonna get pushed aside or expected to move.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of that here. There's a cool moment where the Mac finds some beers, and he pays a little bit of homage to a man who I think who's been quite supportive of Lucha Underground's campaign this last year, a certain Stone Cold Steve Austin. He said a lot of complimentary things in the direction of Lucha Underground.
Yep.
So he smashes those beers together, throws up the middle fingers, and gives Cage a good old stunner. And when I say stunner, he stuns him and then does the Austin thing of getting in his face.
Like proper swearing, like proper it was great.
It was
it.
awesome. I mean, beer is draped everywhere, by the way, all over Mac. It's all on the ground. It's on the fans. It's all over Cage. It's brilliant. It's awesome. They end up brawling up the steps, and there's a lot of bits here where in Lucha Underground they have to kind of explain it right. There's not many fans there. There's still a decent amount to get a good reception. There's still what I'm trying to say. I don't want to make it sound as if there isn't anyone there.
There can only be. They can't exceed 500.
Yeah, there can't be more than 500. But there's a lot of there's actual
It's quite similar to like NXT and like ECW, where it's like it's intense crowd.
Yeah, but in the arena they've actually got Dario Cueto's office, who is the owner. His office is there. You can actually see it when they do the matches. There's also a storage place, and it's there. And a lot of the times, especially on this show, they'll go on top of them to the actual the ceiling, the roof of these places, and they'll fight up there, right? And it's like, wow, that they're fighting up there along those lines. In fact, Mil Muertes in his rematch with Phoenix has happened a couple of months ago now, I believe. But I mean, he powerbombed Phoenix through the roof of one of these places, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Madness. So they end up fighting up there. The Mac hits.
Muertes. Jesus.
We'll talk about him later on. Jesus, he is the cover star of this episode, so there is that. You can see his behemoth nature standing right there on the background. So the pair brawl up to one of those areas up there. The Mac lands like a spine buster onto a trash can, but only gets a 2 count. And then you may be thinking, what's going to end the match at that point? Considering that was quite a devastating thing. Well, Cage grabs the Mac, he's on the floor, lifts him up by his arms, places a cinder block by his head, and then with his foot on his back, not on his head,
just proceeds to force.
Yeah, literally just crack. There you go. Pins the Mac. The Mac's got a face for the fucking cinder block and pins him. Gets the 3 count. So they call him Cage, wins the match in what was a pretty fucking brutal match, and was I thought pretty much surmised early on what you could expect from the next
hour to next week's show, the lot.
Yeah, it was entertaining. Like I said, I thought some of the matches then struggled to keep up with the pace, but by all means were they not entertaining in their own right. It's just that these guys came out with the indication of being a curtain jerker match, which was getting the crowd pumped up, and guess what? They succeeded.
Yeah.
So every day you see a guy get his face rammed into cinder blocks, so or you get a good homage to Stone Cold Steve Austin. So there is that. The Disciples of Death versus Angelico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc. And this is the moment where, if you're watching Lucha Underground for the first time, you go, wait a minute, weren't they in Tough Enough? Yeah, they were in Tough Enough. Ivelisse and Son of Havoc, you may know him as the guy who got booted out week 2 as Matt Cross. He doesn't look, well, he's got a mask on, but now he's adorned a beard, so, he doesn't look much like what you...
Oh, what, from the same season?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so, Ivelisse, you would notice her as well there. She's still looking good as hell, and guess what? She can wrestle just as good as she looks. So
even with a foot boot.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? She's a tough bitch, right? I'm going to say it right now. She performed this match with a recovering broken leg, and this ain't kayfabe. She broke her leg. So, yeah, she comes out crutches. Fuck it. This title isn't going to defend itself. So
I did notice how, like, to begin with, like, one of the disciples was just like, yeah, let's just lift her up.
Yeah.
Like, she can't do anything. She's injured. Just, like, carry her around.
yeah, they were careful with her, and I'm glad of that because I don't want to see someone injured taking big bumps. But even then, you're in a wrestling ring. Accidents can happen when you're already injured. That takes a bit of bumps. Maybe that's even reckless to a certain degree, but it made it had the feeling of these guys are coming for our belts. Like I said, these titles ain't going to defend themselves. If they're going to take it, then they're going to have to beat me broken and all, right? And that they really got across that sort of feeling with Evil East. So, the numbers game, as you imagine, the Disciples of Death, which are allied with Katrina, who is at ringside as well, and Mil Muertes, who we'll talk about later on, who is fastly becoming one of my favourites, by the way, Mil Muertes.
Yeah.
Who is, I think, by the way, making a great stride towards Wrestler of the Year, the way it's going, but we'll go into that a little bit later. So there is a moment here where the numbers game starts getting on top of them, and Helico, which, by the way, if you haven't seen him before, seems to have taken a liking to jumping off the top of these places, like earlier before, the ceilings of these of these shacks that they built up, right? And jumping off incredible heights. I mean, we're talking Jeff Hardy jumping off like 40 foot, sort of, close to that, right? The shit that he does is pretty fucking bonkers, and he just jumps off of him onto the Disciples of Death. And like I said, this isn't like jumping off of like a cage. Oh wow, no, this is like you look at it and you're like, just don't do it. That's crazy. You're gonna get yourself killed.
He's a madman.
He's a madman, right? Honestly, it's got the. He did one on a show. I think back when they won or they defended the championships in like a ladder match. And like he jumped off it and drop kicked someone who was on a ladder, and you're like, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he's bonkers, really is. You have to see it to believe it. Honestly, like no words I can make here can describe it accurately, right? But even then, with that, the Disciples of Death have seemingly got him within their grasp. Even when they look down and out at one point, Katrina holds up the mystical stone. And if I said those words in WWE, they would seem out of place because Lucha did it right from the very beginning. It fits their MO, right? So you can kind of accept it a bit better. So she lifts up the mystical stone, which is like the power of death, and it lifts them up. Actually lifts them up. The Disciples of Death, they're raising in power. They're rejuvenated by this stone. And then they've got Evil East behind them with the look of, bitch, what the fuck are you doing, sort of thing. Like,
yeah.
Move, bitch, get out the way.
Oh, hell nah.
So even with a broken leg, she throws her crutches to the ground and she fights with Katrina, who, by the way, she's not exactly not been, in a physical brawl before, but she's not like a female wrestler.
She's not an in-ring talent.
No, she's not an in-ring talent. So she's getting beaten up there. Katrina manages to hit her in the head with this stone, this mystical stone, and knocks her out clean. Like she's just out, just seeing stars. And one of the Disciples of Death crawls in, pins them, wins the Trios Championships. So they are now the Trios Champions. Afterwards, they've been building up to this now. Katrina gives Evil East the lick of death, which, for people who don't know, she licks their face. Which I can guarantee for any man's penis is the lick of life. I can guarantee you that. So I imagine a few people. I was like, whoa, okay, I'm interested.
Hang on a second.
Jeez, yeah. And I mean, she didn't just like, and then like went back to
bad. And we thought like when Paige licked Natalia's face, that was sorted.
Oh no, I mean like that was pretty heavy-handed. This is like she literally from like jaw to head. Right, like lick, like all the way up. So it's like, okay, I can get into that. But it's the lick of death. It's basically, Katrina saying that you're done, right? It's her way of insulting someone after they're beaten, right? And it's along those lines. So, yeah, the Disciples of Death are the Trios Champions. They've got really awesome looking, like, like masks,
Yeah.
So they've got like I can't explain it. They just look so cool, right? Awesome.
The only one thing I loved during this match is the fact that you had the "You're not scary" chant.
Yeah, but I mean, they looked it. They looked the part.
The thing is, I don't like.
Go on.
Like, it's all well and good having different coloured masks of similar style. That's fine because then it's the differentiation.
Yeah.
But then, like, when you've got like two guys in like black trousers and no top,
You
no
got
shirt.
one guy.
And then
Yeah.
you got this other guy who's like, I am in my own gear.
I
And
don't.
did you not get the ammo? No. My top. My full length top. He's like, full sleeves, nothing. You see nothing.
You know, I mean, I would actually like it maybe if the two guys, maybe one of them wore like not like a singlet, but maybe like a one armed, like maybe even like a tank top or something, so they all have something a bit different. I wouldn't mind that, but no, I don't think it's that much of an issue. They're still kind of figuring out what the Disciples of Death, how best to do them, you know, because they came out with just like very basic masks to begin with. So I imagine in season 2 they'll get their shit together, sort of thing. But they still performed well, so there's that. Talking of masks and gear that looks amazing, Drago versus Hernandez.
Ah, yes.
Drago, if you haven't seen it, he's essentially Lucha Underground's resident Batman.
Yeah.
Well, I say that, but that's kind of insulting. He's meant to portray a dragon, right? He's got this mask. I can't even explain it, Matt. But he's got this gear. Oh man, the fucking intricacy in it, the way it looks, it's just it's phenomenal, right? I can't even explain.
I think the only way to like roughly is if Finn Balor was a dragon.
Yeah, right. It's kind of how it looks, right? Because he comes out with the wings, but they're not like the wings that Finn Balor uses. They're proper fucking wings, right?
Yeah.
With full-on wingspan and everything, right? And he has like this tongue which goes down almost like a lizard's tongue. That's all black as well. That comes out when he does that as well. And like I said, you may be thinking, wow, this sounds like a dark character. He's actually a face, right? People love him. I love him.
But
personally.
hey, this is Lucha Underground.
Exactly, right? And Hernandez, you may be thinking, well, that's a name. Yeah, he's the one who went to TNA without anyone realizing that he was still in contract to Lucha Underground. So when TNA found out, they had to pull all the segments involving Hernandez, which turned out to be a fuck ton of them. So
yeah, it's like all of a sudden, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So here's the interesting thing about this match, Matt. In this match, the fans are the Lumberjacks. And you'll be thinking, well, but wait, normally you have the Lumberjacks, they're all jacked up wrestlers. That's how they get the guys back into the ring.
What was it? The Believers Backlash.
Believers Backlash, that's the word of it, yeah. Well, obviously Lucha Underground fully understands that as well. So they say, well, we're going to arm them all with fucking leather belts. So if they get outside, they'll be whipped to shit. And obviously Drago doesn't because everyone likes him, but Hernandez will get whipped to shit. And you may be thinking, well, maybe they'll tell guys to go a little bit easy on him. Fuck no, they
he's
not.
getting whipped to shit.
Yeah, he was getting absolutely annihilated to the point that he was running away from these guys. They even got this guy who's like the hot tub guy they kept calling him. I think he has his own review show. But he's walking up and fucking lashing the shit out of Hernandez.
Yeah.
There was one point he's got like this red mark just above his eye. Funny enough, the shape of a strap, and then you realise pretty quickly that one of these guys has fucking wrapped it right around his head, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, that must have hurt. So,
was it?
Yeah, that was the strap.
Because he came out with like a red like bandana on. I thought that was that.
No, that was
because he got fucking clocked.
He got clocked, yeah. So someone literally missed, I imagine. They probably did tell him, don't hit him in the face, hit him in the back or in the chest. Someone obviously missed and fucking whacked him around the head and got him good. I mean, really, really good. So, there is that. So, as much as I started to feel sorry for Hernandez, I also didn't want it to stop a little bit. I guess that makes me a bad person, but still, he's a heel, right? So, there's that.
Like, I meant to hate him.
Yeah, that's it. And a little bit of this goes on. Even Hernandez starts to square up to some of the fans, even stealing some of their whips once he realises the fucking damage that they've all done to him. And Drago eventually gets the win. They have a decent enough match, the pair of them, but I thought just the whole thing with the fans was really the big selling point right there.
Yeah.
All respect to Drago, but that was the big thing, you know. And I thought it was a really cool visual in this match when you've got all these fans outside of it with all these belts. It's just I couldn't I couldn't tear my eyes away from it. I was like, well, what's going to happen next? This is crazy, you know. This is, you know, I've never ever seen this before. This is madness, and it's madness. This is Lucha Underground. Yeah, that's the way they work. But kudos to Hernandez for accepting that stipulation.
Yeah.
Because, and I doubt he'll accept it again because fucking hell, he got absolutely lashed. The first one that hit, man, the very first one, I was like, fucking hell, they are not holding back at all. So, fair play. But yeah, Drago gets the win, and this is like his redemption, I believe, because he was also banned from the temple. That's what they call, you know, the arena that they go in, you know, the Lucha Underground temple, Dario Cueto's temple. So they're banned. You know, he was banned, but he got his way back, and this is his redemption. The fans accepting him, all this other stuff, right? But guys, honestly, just Google an image of Drago Lucha Underground. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He just looks absolutely crazy. It's unreal, but awesome. Awesome at the same time. So that was the first hour. A nice little taster of what we were expecting to get in the 2-hour episode of Lucha Underground. And this is the main difference, I think, between Lucha and WWE. When Lucha Underground finishes, you want 3 times as much. And when Raw finishes, you're quite happy with having 3 times as less. You know, a third of what you get. Whereas with Lucha Underground, you want more and more and more.
Yep.
Not that I'm saying I want 3 hours of Lucha Underground, because even then, that would be a problem. But because it's only the hour, you know, and they've only had this one special with the 2 hours, which we're about to cover, it's just so much easier to digest, you know. So that's along the lines of that. Matt, are you ready to do this second hour?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Oh, let's do it. So it's the well, let's say the second hour, the part 2, which was a 2-hour extra. Not extra, the final part of it, which aired this week. So that what we just reviewed, like I said, happened last week. Obviously with Vampiro obviously going off to fight Pentagon Jr., he's replaced with some other guy. I think his name's Michael Chiavelli. Maybe I've got that name wrong.
Something like that, yeah.
I thought he was very good on commentary. At first I was a bit like, am I going to like this guy? But he quickly won me over on commentary. What do you think of him?
Yeah, he was alright.
Yeah, I thought he was good.
I'll go full Tim. I think Vampiro is better, but...
Well, considering the way that Vampiro is going to be going, I doubt he's going to be on commentary. So
no, I know. They're probably going to use him as like a replacement, or they'll find someone new for season 2.
Yeah. But if not, then this guy I thought did a pretty decent job. I mean, one of the main things that you could think about it is he was genuinely excited for all the matches, and you could just hear that in his voice, right? And he knew all the backgrounds and everything like that. And I don't even think that wrestling is like, he does cover wrestling, but I think he does a lot of stuff outside. But you can tell he did his homework. He's very excited. He's very passionate, and he's a good commentator. So you got to give him props for that. First match, Johnny Mundo. You may all know him as Matt alluded to earlier on, Johnny Morrison. Or John Morrison, as he back then.
I was going to say Johnny Morrison?
Johnny Morrison. I'm getting mixed with their names now. And Alberto El Patron, who you may know him as Alberto Del Rio of WWE fame. And it's quite fun now seeing El Patron kind of let loose, having a bit of fun, you know, with these matches. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I'd been quite negative towards Del Rio when he was in WWE. But seeing El Patron in Lucha Underground, especially with these quality of matches, I kind of miss him a bit, you know. Did you get the same sort of feeling seeing him here? You're like, I kind of miss. It's not so much I miss Del Rio, but I'd missed seeing, you know, his ability, you know, how good he was.
Yeah.
You know, and he hasn't skipped a beat. He is the AAA Mega Champion, so he's coming in with that belt because they do a lot of. I mean, a lot of the stars go to the AAA and back and forth, you know, along those lines. So he comes in with that belt as well. And the whole rivalry here is that Johnny Mundo has gone heel. He was face when it all started off, but he's gone heel. He drove El Patron through a window, and that was like the sparking of their rivalry. So this is them fighting again, and you know, Mundo's trying to prove that he's the better guy. He's the face of Lucha Underground and all this other stuff as well. And I mean, I don't know about you, Matt. I always thought Morrison in his WWE days wasn't capable of even pulling off being a heel or even working on a mic. I mean, it's easier, obviously, to pull that off in Lucha Underground, but at very least he's done it, so you have to give him some props. Did you ever think that he was capable of being a heel back in those days, or?
Not particularly, no. Um, no, I never really sort of. I think whether it was just a case of he never really got his opportunity to show it, I think that plays quite a big role of it.
Yeah, you think that maybe they didn't trust him along the line. I just remember a particular like promo with him and R-Truth that was like horrendous. That was like painful.
Oh, not that promo. Isn't that the one where they like started smoking or something?
Yeah, they were talking about R-Truth smoking and stuff. It was ridiculous, right?
Terrible.
But at the very least now, as Johnny Mundo, he's a far cry away from those days. At the very least, he's very entertaining. And like I said, just like El Patron, like he's just as good now as he ever was. Probably even better. Right now, he's got the shackles loose a little bit. Just as it looks like El Patron, they have a great match, by the way. These guys are really good opening match for part 2, and it looks
it's like such a good one. Like one thing is just like as an opening match, it was like such a storytelling match as well.
Yeah, the story devices used in this match, like the psychology, fantastic, right? Just really, really good from two guys that clearly get the audience and what man, they got great chemistry, don't they? El Patron and Mundo, Jesus, they really do. And this isn't the first world class match they've had. It's like the second or third at this point. It's very, very good. So yeah, it looks like El Patron is getting control. He hits the armbar, and even though Mundo manages to get away from it, he does tap out, by the way, but the referee is down. And then El Patron locks it on over the rope, so his arm is all hyperextended, it's bending, it looks like he's about to come out of the socket. Because basically, Mundo's there in the ring, you got fucking El Patron like hanging out with his fucking arm. It was a great visual.
So great.
Yeah. And then just as it looks like literally Mundo's going to have his arm ripped off, guess who shows up? Melina. And she clocks Patron over the head with the Treble A Championship. And then obviously this opens up Mundo to hit his finisher. I think it's like the end of the world, he calls it.
Yeah.
Now.
I can't remember what did he used to call it?
Starship Pain.
That's it.
It's the same finisher, but with a much cooler finishing name now. But he hits that and then obviously pins El Patron to win the match. And then he obviously, kisses Melina. I guess they're still a couple after all this time. I didn't know they were, but, with all the stories. I mean, they had Matt Striker on commentary alluding actually to a lot of the controversy that surrounded Melina and Morrison back in those days. And a certain Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different...
It's like they've got such history. Not a good history a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They've got history.
They've got history, that's it. But El Patron, he ain't taking any of that, It's Alberto El Patron. He ain't going to take any of that shit. So, as Mundo is all celebrating, he grabs him and then tosses his ass his head through a window of one of the, the storage areas. And cuts him up really badly. So there's blood everywhere. There's blood all over Melina as well because she's crying over Morrison and his face being all fucking cut up to shit. And then Melina slaps El Patron. So in favor, he just literally bends her over his knee and slaps her ass half a dozen times.
Her a bit. It's a bit like hang on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought maybe he would do something a little bit more violent, considering that they treat the women a lot more. Evenly on this show, the women here can just get beaten up just as badly as the men.
Yeah.
Right? So, and by the way, they can dish out just as much punishment as the men to the men, right? That's one of the things I like about Lucha Underground, but we'll go into that because some people don't. But yeah, he leaves a happy camper with his AAA championship, and great match to start off the show. I mean, in terms of curtain jerkers for both the parts of the show, I couldn't ask for anything more. You got the match with, Mac and Cage. I thought Mundo El Patron was better.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, I mean, not saying that Cage and Mac was bad, but it was obviously, El Patron and Mundo. They are. I don't want to say a word like a different class, but they're more experienced, right?
Yeah.
And they've had experience in the big leagues and stuff like that, and. They were both fantastic matches, but this one was quality inside the ring as well, rather than just being an all-out brawl, which is what Cage and Mac was, right?
Yeah.
So excellent stuff there. So all good stuff. So the match that they were giving away for free, and what a match that they were giving away for free. Why not give it away for free? I'd say, try and get more people. If TNA does this, it's a little bit counterproductive. But when Lucha Underground does it, because they're only starting out, they still need names viewing this show. So I've got no problem, and especially considering like they still don't have, they don't have distributors for Lucha Underground outside of America. At least not much. So them giving away some of the matches free on YouTube, obviously for me, I love that. I can go watch it whenever I want. But the match they're giving away is probably one of the most entertaining matches I've watched this year. It is Pentagon Jr. versus Vampiro. And you're thinking, is it that Vampiro? Yes, it is that Vampiro.
It is that Vampiro.
And Vampiro, by the way, he has been the commentator all the way through Lucha Underground. They've built up this story that Pentagon Jr. has been sacrificing people to his master. And his sacrifices, by the way, are breaking people's arms, right? And lately, he tried to snap the arm of Sexy Star. He tried to snap the arm of, the ring announcer. And the one person to stop him was Vampiro. He couldn't take it, or as he called himself at that time, Ian Hodgkinson, which is his real name. He wasn't Vampiro. He was Ian Hodgkinson, right?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been Vampiro in a very long time, right?
Well, they were looking to it. It's like he hasn't sort of set foot in a ring in like a decade.
Yeah, right. So to him, he's just the days of him being Vampiro long gone, right? He's Ian Hodgkinson. That's all he is. So Pentagon Jr. says, well, I need to give a sacrifice to my master. I demand that my next sacrifice will be Ian Hodgkinson. And then obviously you've got Vampiro saying, well, I'm not going to wrestle in any match. I'm not going to wrestle in any match. I'm retired. I'm a legend. There's no reason for me to fight you. But obviously Pentagon, he needs a sacrifice. He's hell-bent on making Vampiro his sacrifice. He says, Vampiro, Ian Hodgkinson, doesn't matter. You will be my next sacrifice. So this match obviously starts off with them here. If you had asked me whether or not I thought that this match could steal the show, I probably would have bet against it. And it's not bad against these guys. It's just you don't know how far Vampiro's going to let this go, even with his background, right?
Yeah.
He's a legend, right? He's not wrong. He's getting on a bit, right? You can even see it just looking at him, right? No disrespect to Vampiro, but he doesn't look like a
tell,
chicken.
the way he was moving mostly in the ring.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I've always been one here on this show, Matt. You do exactly the same. I admit it when I'm wrong. I was wrong. This isn't a wrestling match, yeah? Not that you would expect it to be, considering who's in it, right? But it was an all-out fight. But it was an all-out fight that was spectacular. When you realise that in Lucha Underground, it doesn't matter if you're a man, doesn't matter if you're a woman, doesn't matter if you're young, doesn't matter if you're old, doesn't matter if you're not experienced, and in Vampiro's case, it doesn't matter if you're a legend, you're going to get an ass whooping. You get in that ring, be prepared to take a kicking, right?
It's going to be a fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a war. It felt like a war. It wasn't a battle. It felt like these two guys were just fucking annihilating the pair of each other. And the announce team did an excellent job of building up Vampiro to be this legend who maybe doesn't have much fight left in him, Matt, but he's got one more fight left. He's got enough for just one more crack, one more fight. And, he's just, maybe deep down inside of himself, he can pull it out of himself just for this one more time, to survive against Pentagon Jr., right? And so I thought, in terms of commentary, man, I just love saying the commentary did a great job. We don't get to say it often, but, man, they really did. They told the story when it needed to be told, They beefed it up. What's they said about the commentary is that, on WWE side, is that they should be there to, help promote and enhance what's going on in the ring, not to take away from it. And often they take away from it.
Yeah.
Strike,
as much as we picked on Striker when he was just referring to his years of in-ring experience, but he does such a good job on Lucha.
Yeah. Because he's so impassioned about it. He's So he loves it, you know. And when he's talking a lot on commentary about, you know, this has been a great ride this last year. This is a thank you to the fans. It feels so genuine. When you've got like Byron Saxton making these crap jokes about what a great deal that this network is, awesome, what a great fight between Brock Lesnar and it's like it's so fake. When Matt Striker's talking about it on Lucha Underground, you can tell he's talking from the heart, or at very least he's making me believe it is. So yeah, it's almost like Lucha Underground against the world. So Matt Striker, it's him against the world. And you get that feeling that he's just like, you know what, we did it. Here's a beer to you guys, you know? And it felt very genuine, and obviously in this match it did as well. There's a part in this match where Vampiro's taking a lot of damage very early on, and they all come out because he gets body slammed onto the concrete on the outside. So they come out, they think commentary talking up, or, considering his history, 9 surgeries on his neck.
Like neck fusions and that lot.
Yeah, this is it. This could actually be very dangerous for Vampiro. He could be seriously hurt. They go to a break. They come back and he's being wheeled out, and obviously he gets back up. No, I'm not letting this happen. I've got to fight Pentagon Jr. So he gets back up, fights. Tacks are brought out. Fluorescent light tubes are smashed on both sides. Pentagon Jr.'s mask ends up getting ripped, which is a great insult. To Lucha, to have your face shown.
Exposed, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't fully exposed, but still, the thought is there, right? I know.
So then, but enough for me to finally go, so he doesn't paint all of his face. He just paints his chin.
Yeah. So it's a hell of a fight. These guys absolutely brutalize each other. It's basically like, you hit me, I hit you back. Whoever drops first, the chips will lay where they do.
Yeah.
Vampiro puts one of the tables that are brought out on fire, and you know where this is going. Pentagon drives him through the flaming table and then pins him for the victory and wins the match. Vampiro then crawls into the ring and he tells Pentagon Jr., break my arm, do it now, make me your sacrifice, break my arm, do it. And in WWE you may have an angle where the heel feels like, he has respect for the man that he just had a battle with. And no, he won't break his arm because he respects the man and the war they've been in. In Lucha Underground, it's like, no, it's Pentagon Jr. He's just like, you give me an honor break, fuck it, I'll break it. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, I told I needed a sacrifice for my master. You're giving it to me? Thought, sure, I'll do it. So,
yeah, sure.
So he goes in, breaks his arm, and as he's celebrating, Vampiro rises. You think to yourself, God, man, you've done enough in this match to stop it. But he has a mic, and he tells Pentagon Jr. that his master is very pleased, and now he is ready. And he's basically alluding to the fact that Vampiro, all along, it was him. He was Pentagon Jr.'s master. It was him, Austin, damn it. It was him all along. That's what it is. Except here, it kind of was cool. It wasn't as hokey. So,
yeah.
That. So then, obviously, Pentagon's shocked, but he's like, my goodness, he's overwhelmed, and now it does seem like Vampiro is now teaming, with Pentagon Jr. going forward, especially with the vignette that they did later on. Man, you just have to give Vampiro props here. Jesus, he thought, why not? Let's do it one time.
I thought it was great.
It was
especially
violent.
Considering we had everything. Like you had this wasn't a wrestling match, There was wrestling moves, but it was a hardcore match. But not to go like, it was like a death match. It wasn't. It still told the story rather than this is a bushwhacker, let me cut your face open. Yeah. I think it was great. Like we had everything sort of like, when Vampiro's going back, like they were like, he's going back to his old ways, and it sort of pulls out the thumbtacks and things like that. Yeah. And it's like, it's going to happen. We're going to do it. And I'm like,
there was a point in this match, like obviously that you're kind of alluding to, you realise, oh shit, they're going full fucking kilter. Like they ain't half-arsing it.
They're going hardcore. Like when it was with that first strike with the light.
Yes.
And it was just like smash, and I was like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then Pentagon grabs a end of it and just carves into his head.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
It's not for the faint of heart, but if you enjoyed ECW style violence, Jesus, you'll be wondering where has this been all your life? Matt, as an ECW fan, I imagine that you I mean, it's violence for a reason. It's got a storyline that builds to the violence, right? The reason that they're killing each other has a reason, right? They've got a proper storyline to it, and obviously, it's got a storyline that was planned well in advance because Vampiro was always going to be his master. You know, that's the reason why Vampiro, you know, went along these lines. You know, so sometimes when and I'm drawing the comparisons to WWE, and maybe I shouldn't, but a lot of the problems that WWE has is that a lot of their matches don't have any build up. They don't have any meaning for being there. I can't say that of any of the matches that happened on the show, and this one even more so. It had a story that was built up for weeks, and it was satisfying. So when these guys are killing each other, you're not thinking to yourself, why are you doing it? It's like, they have to. This is the storyline that they've built. There's no other choice. They have to destroy each other, right? And then you realise that it was just a test all along, right? Awesome stuff. Really good. And it maybe if they had done a little bit more mat-based wrestling, maybe at the beginning, which like I said, I'm not expecting them to, but if they had, then this one would have had a shot at getting match of the year. But because it didn't, I can't in my own right mind. Do you accept that at least, or?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's still a great match, one of the best of the year in terms of I was so enthralled by this match.
Story.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
So yeah, but in terms of match of the year, not quite there. It's missing a few things, but Jesus, just fantastic. Gift of the Gods, and I do have to stop talking, by the way, about that match because I will keep doing it all the way through. Gift of the Gods: Phoenix, Aerostar, Bengala, Big Rick, King Cuerno, Jack Evans, and Sexy Star. A touch of a clusterfuck, I thought, of this match.
Yeah.
I thought at very least it was well placed considering the match that we had prior.
Yeah, and the match that would follow.
Yeah, it was a bit of a calm down match over what we just witnessed along those lines. So Sexy Star is a woman, and she's built up as someone that's good enough to fight the men. Now, I obviously bring this up because one of the things about Lucha Underground is that they do have quite a progressive thought track of the women can fight the men, and they can take bumps like the men. The men can take bumps from the women. In fact, Big Rick here, he fucking drives Sexy Star right into the mat with a fucking standing spine buster.
Yeah.
He just fucking throws her down. She takes it. She's a strong woman. Some people don't like it. Some people say I don't like it at all. Personally, I don't have a problem with it as long as they book it that the women are of even ground. Then I don't have a problem with the women taking sick bumps and shit like that. Some people may have the thought track as well that the women, they just can't separate the fact that the women would have a chance against the men, right?
Hey,
Go on.
Mae Young took a bubba bomb through a table.
Yeah.
Women can do it.
Yeah. But that's the other thing, though, is that they can't detach themselves. I think you're using a little bit of a double standard there when you say that sort of stuff, considering Lucha Underground is such a bombastic place anyway. Yeah. You're saying that it's hard to believe that the women can fight the men, but yet you don't have a problem believing Drago is a dragon. Or that people die, right? It's a little bit... You know what I mean? Along those lines. Like, if it's going to happen anywhere and be in place, Lucha Underground is that place. And personally, I mean, do you have a problem with it? I don't.
I don't, no.
Maybe because it was the way I was raised, with me, the women fight the guys, right? Along those lines, I don't have an issue, do you try telling Ronda Rousey she can't fight the men if the men start a fight with her? Jesus Christ, So.
Well, the way Mayweather's going, he might find himself in a fight.
I'd love to see himself. I'd love for Ronda Rousey to shove her fist up his butthole. I really would, and make him enjoy it as well. And she flaps his mouth like a fucking puppet. I would pay great money to see that, but obviously it won't happen. Well, maybe it will be, but it'll be more like a sprint where you've got Floyd Mayweather running backwards, throwing jabs, while Ronda Rousey's just trying to catch up with him. That's the shots fired at Mayweather. Yeah. Jesus is not the first one on this show, anyway. So the Gift of the Gods, Matt. It's a belt, but it's sectioned off with all these ancient Aztec medallions, and when they're all put into this belt, it says that the person who holds it has the key to immortality, right? That they can, or very least, great power, right?
Yeah.
So whoever wins it here, obviously, it basically what I'm seeing this as being the gift of the gods, basically a mid-tier belt, is the way that I see it going. Or maybe more of a storyline belt, because the Lucha Underground's more like the elite,
Well, it's meant to be that the person who holds it could then go for the main, like the actual Lucha Championship.
Yeah, a little bit like I'd say a little bit more
like the X Division sort of.
Yeah, but
I know because the X Division was never really like that. It was just Austin Aries who just did it.
Yeah, they kind of did it randomly with that one thing, didn't they? And they did it again, and then they did it again, and yeah. But we'll see how that. I mean, this is the first match for this belt. They've built it all up, all these ancient medallions. You said there, Matt, that you saw the way that it looks, because it doesn't look like a wrestling championship. It literally looks like these medallions placed into several slots on a belt. I love the look of it.
I do.
I think it's really unique. It really is. Like, it stands out. Ironically, because it doesn't look like a wrestling championship, but it looks really good, So I thought this was a good match. Don't get me wrong, but it was one of the less memorable ones. Would you at least grant it that?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many times I can see like Big Rick just throwing everyone out of the ring.
Yeah,
because that happened a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the one person that maybe did steal the show a little bit was Jack Evans, which ironically is probably one of the most generic-looking guys in that whole match, but he did actually have a really good performance in his match. But there's a lot of good characters here,
Who else?
Hmm?
Who else did it? What was his name? Aerostar?
Aerostar, yeah, that's the one.
Who did that ridiculous bump.
Yeah.
Well, not ridiculous bump. It was just sort of like, oh, they're all fighting outside. Hang on a second. Who's that all the way up there?
Yeah.
Crossbody.
Yeah. Well, apparently he can fly, Matt, so, it's easy for him after all. Now, there is a part here where Sexy Star, she's kind of cleared the ring a little bit, and then Marty the Moth comes in. You may remember him.
Oh, God, yeah.
He is Martin from Austin's Tough Enough. Yet again, another guy who's ended up on Lucha Underground. But he's playing an extremely rapey character, I think.
I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, right.
He's a rapey insect.
Yeah, and he is infatuated with Sexy Star, and I can get it. She's a badass chick who can give out a good beating, and I don't know if she's good looking. She wears a mask, but still she's badass chick. But yeah, he comes in, he's all like, ugh, and there's a bit later on with the backstage segments that Martin could probably do a movie as a serial killer.
Steps it up a notch a bit,
yeah.
doesn't it?
He could be a scary guy, which you think, looking at Tough Enough back then, he seemed like a very genuine, okay guy. Jesus Christ, he could have been Jack Nicholson busting through a door going, "Hey Johnny," he really could be.
Yeah.
He's that.
Here's Marty.
Here's Marty the Moth. Yeah, something like that. So. Phoenix manages to pick up the victory here. He wins the Gift of the Gods, which I'd say as him is ending a good year, considering he spent the majority of it getting demolished by Mil Muertes. So, good for him that he's got that championship. And the only person here that hadn't actually got one of the medallions in a match before this, because in Lucha Underground all the matches mean something, so they actually had matches for the medallions that would go into this belt, so that was quite cool. But the only person that didn't have a medallion was Big Rick, but he's in with Dario Cueto, who's the the owner, so he got a slot in because he's done work for Cueto in the past, so the way it goes there.
That's it. It's like, you're my muscle, you can get in.
Yeah, exactly. Blue Demon Junior versus Tejano. I thought this was easily the most disappointing match of the night.
Just a bit.
It barely started. Really, it was kind of nothing. Blue Demon comes out with the surviving members of the crew, because one of their guys got killed. Like in storyline, he's dead. He's not coming back. He's dead. Right, there was blood splattered on the walls. He's dead. I just love that, by the way. I thought it was awesome. Like, you've never seen that in wrestling, a character die, right? That's just crazy. So yeah, they get involved quite earlier on. Then Chavo Guerrero comes out. He's had his own problems with Blue Demon, and he looks like he's going to attack him, and then decides, actually, I'm going to fight Tejano instead. So he smashes him. That's the end of the match. Tejano gets pinned, and they're building up this alliance. I thought it was quite disappointing, all in all.
I just, when you're like, and it's now time for like Blue Demon Jr. is like, what? Oh, that match.
Yeah.
I forgot about that match.
It was. Like I said, we love Lucha Underground, and this show was great. But we have to call it bullshit when it happened. I just thought this match was a little bit. They're doing a filler match. Maybe they run out of time. That could be possible, or they had it planned. They can't have that many long matches on this show. They have to make the most of their time. So maybe they just thought this was a way of getting around it. But still, I didn't like it.
That's it. Like shit, we got 10 minutes. Go on in.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll build into a storyline on season 2, and I'm okay with that. But
like Tahano versus Chavo, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I was a little bit ashamed about is I haven't seen Tahano wrestle. I have seen him wrestle, but not recently. In regards to that, because he's a fairly newer star for AAA and obviously for Lucha Underground. I was excited to see what he can do, and then can't really. Didn't see it. No, literally, he did nothing. He just got beaten up. So
yeah,
a bit of a shame. Mil Muertes, the man of 1,000 deaths, versus Prince Puma for the Lucha Underground Championship. The main event. Oh, Mil.
Now we can just enjoy
it. Prince Puma, by the way, is Ricochet. You may know him as that name. If you don't know who he is, then watch this match. You'll realise how fucking crazy talented Prince Puma is, or Ricochet, it's unbelievable. Some of the shit he can do is mind-boggling, right? He is so crazy talented, it's unreal. I don't know how someone of that talent, and by the way, he's a fairly decent-looking guy behind the mask, how WWE hasn't at least aggressively tried to sign this guy. I have no clue. I honestly don't. But
yeah.
Seriously. But he's
surely an approach has been there.
Surely, yeah, it has to have been. But he is the Lucha Underground champion. He is normally flanked by Conan, but Mil Muertes dealt with him in due time, so he's not there. So he's for the first time, Prince Puma is running solo. Yeah. Mil Muertes isn't. He's got Katrina on his side as usual. If you haven't seen Mil Muertes, he is one of my new favorite wrestlers. I'm going to say that out right now. He is a big, hulking behemoth of a man who, for some reason, works in the way that Matt... I know you hate it when guys of his size do the sidewalk slams and do the choke slams, and you hate it, don't you? You fucking despise it. Mil Muertes is not one of those guys. He doesn't
do big guy. I think it's probably because he's not 7 foot. Like, I hate it when 7 foot guys do the same moveset.
Yeah.
But it's not when it's Mil Muertes.
Yeah.
He's 6. He's still in the 6 something, but it's just sort of he is a mountain.
He's the tank, right? When you call him the god of 1,000 deaths, if you want to have an incarnation, he is, if you look at it in that situation, they're Undertaker, if you look at it in that sense, right? He is the dark presence, he's this monstrous mass of man who seems unstoppable. He's had he is gunning for match of the year from his Grave Consequences match with Phoenix earlier on and it was him who made that match, right? Phoenix did great, he played that role, but it's Mil Muertes. He is the guy, right? He is the guy who I saw in this match and I was like, Jesus Christ, he's entertaining, right? I want to see more of Muertes, right? So obviously when you've got the power of Mil Muertes, you've got the speed and the flexibility, and you've got the finesse, I think is the best word for Puma. Yep. It's the classic story told, power versus speed, done perfectly. It's a perfect blend of Muertes trying to keep up with this guy, every now and then getting hold of him and showing him what his power can do. Every now and then Puma managing to squeeze away, hit his big moves himself with his speed. It was a match that I thought didn't need a lot of the the blood and violence of, like I said, the matches that preceded it, but was excellent in its own right. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
With that assessment.
I can't praise this match at all, more than I can't justify it, because it was just great. And at one point we were like this is very, we've discussed Mil Muertes and Phoenix's Grave Consequence match, and we were like, this could possibly be our match of the year. And now I'm like, Now I don't know.
That's the problem I'm in now.
Because this was such a good match.
And guys, I look at the guys in WWE, by the way, and I would think to myself, who could be a Wrestler of the Year candidate, right? And because we don't go by company, we just go by Wrestler of the Year. And last year it was Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins is great. But I can't think, for me, he isn't Wrestler of the Year this year. I can't think of anyone there that's even close to the two guys that are in the ring, Puma and Muertes. For me, Muertes at the moment, Matt, if you were to put a gun to my head and say, Tony, what is your Wrestler of the Year? I'll go Mil Muertes.
Yeah.
Prince Puma, a fucking seriously close second, as in, I might wake up tomorrow and say Prince Puma. It's that close, right? And hopefully they get Season 2 started before the end of the year, hopefully, and we can see more of Muertes, and he can stamp that in before someone steals it, because I want Lucha Underground to take those titles, take the match of the year and stuff like this. And they're doing great in terms of having that at the moment, right? Mil Muertes, I'm going to say right now, he is one of my most favourite guys in wrestling at the moment. It's awesome seeing this guy. He's awesome, right? And so, like I said, Puma is as well. So you may be thinking, who walks out of this? There's a lot of close calls. Muertes hits his flatliner, can't get the win. Puma hits his flip. I can't remember
was it the 630?
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's basically like he does a 450, then goes over one more, and then lands with his back, right? So that's kind of how he does it. He hits that, doesn't win, tries to hit it again, but misses. Tries to go again for the third time, but Muertes has risen up by now using the power of the mystical stone that Katrina has. And he rises up, flatliners him from like the middle rope, I believe, or the top.
Top rope, yeah.
Top rope. And this is Muertes, by the way, guys. We've said he's a hench guy. He got up then with such a nimble presence, like it was. Like,
he's on the top rope. Okay, done.
Yeah, bing bang bomb. I'm up there, and it's like you shouldn't be able to do that, my friend. Like you should not be able to with a guy your size. And he flatliners him off the top rope, pins Prince Puma, ending his almost all roundabout 8-month reign as Lucha Underground champion. Yeah. And then the show ends with the wrestling segment of the show ends with Muertes with his championship, Katrina giving Puma the lick of death, and obviously you've got the Disciples of Death flanking them with their new Trios championships as well. Caps off one of the best shows I have seen this year, easily. One of the best shows I've seen in the last 5 years, easily, right? I think I'll always remember Ultima Lucha, right? It's going to be one of those shows.
Yeah, easily.
But it doesn't end there, because there's also those awesome backstage skits. We'll go into them as well, Matt. Is there anything else you want to talk about the wrestling section of the show before we go into the backstage bit?
No, I'm confident that
we've explained how good it is.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh God, it's great, guys. It really is.
The worst part is I'd actually kind of called it.
What do you mean?
Like, well, if the gift of the gods grants you for the Lucha title, and I was like, so if Muertes wins, we get Muertes Phoenix again.
That's going to be the rivalry to start off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell, after the beatings Phoenix got, I don't blame him for maybe holding off until maybe someone beats Muertes. Yeah. But he's going to be waiting a while, right? It's the way it is. So the backstage segments, the bulk of them, there's like a montage at the end that explains what happens to all these characters after the show has ended, after season 1.
I'm trying to figure out who was in the back of the truck.
Oh, that's Dario Cueto's brother. We'll get into that. So the main story that happens throughout the shows, however, is Cueto. He's all suited up for Ultima Lucha, in his temple. And he's got these two jail places, right? Jail rooms, or whatever they're called, right?
Yeah.
Jail cells. Why am I losing my mind? It's late at night, we've been talking about stuff. So he's got these two jail cells. In one of them, he's got his brother, who is the murderer of one of the members of the crew. He murdered one of them. Cueto said, you guys have wronged me too many times. You pick which one you want to die. He goes in there, gets killed by my brother. And that's what happened. But the rumor is that he also murdered Black Lotus's parents, and this is a woman that has been training to kill Dario Cueto's brother, right? Who's this monster. We've never seen him before, right? He's this hulking thing that's literally just been growling, making deep noises.
Yeah, we just know that he exists, and that's about it.
Yeah. But her master, Dragon Azteca, has been training her up to avenge her parents. But right at the very beginning of the first hour of the show, Dario Cueto comes to her and says, "Look, I would be honest if it was the case, but your mission is kind of fruitless because my brother didn't kill your parents. It was Dragon Azteca who killed your parents. If you want revenge, then you should take out on Dragon Azteca. It had nothing to do with me." So obviously she's left with time to ponder this along those lines and punch a wall, which is essentially what she does.
Yeah.
So later on, Dragon Azteca shows up back at the temple, and there's a prophecy that states that if he was to re-enter the temple, he would die. It would lead to his death, right? But obviously he needs to go back in and save his student,
trainee,
his trainee, right? His Padawan, if you want to look at it in Star Wars sense, right? So he goes in, and Cueto shows up and says, "Well, you know about the prophecy, don't you? You've stepped into my temple. It will lead to your death." And Dragon Azteca says, "Well, I'm not going to let you. Don't open up that cage where your brother is." And Cueto says, "I don't have to." And at that moment, Lotus reaches out, grabs her master, punches him in the back, which I'm guessing stops his heart, kills him. He's dead.
Yep.
So she's kind of like horrified over what the fuck just happened. Dario Cueto's like, "Well, shit, we just started a war, so shit's about to hit the fan." So yeah, he basically says, "Right, you come with me," and they look back at the brother and they say, "What are you going to do with him?" And then Cueto just smiles and says, "He's coming with us," right?
Yeah.
So they've got a bit with them driving off. You got Black Lotus, and obviously now aligned with Cueto. And then you get the only shot we've seen so far of his brother, and it's just obviously this guy is masked, and he looks like a monster, right? And he's looking, peeking out of these little slits in this like cage that they're transporting him in, right? So that's that whole storyline. So obviously, Lotus has technically gone heel, but ultimately heel because she killed someone, right? So, and Cueto says dark times are coming. So obviously this is going to be the storyline leading into Lucha Underground going on there. Yeah. And then they go through at the end of the show this this montage of what's happened to a lot of these people since the show or leaving the show. So they show stuff like Marty the Moth has captured Sexy Star, tied her up, and he says something along the lines of, "You should be afraid when my sister arrives," or something along those lines, basically alluding to his sister, right, is going to come in. So whoever that might be, I don't know who. But
just flapping away, laughing at a light bulb.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. He looks creepy as fuck. He really does. He looks so creepy. It's unbelievable. You got Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico. They all leave in their bikes. Son of Havoc tells Angelico before he buggers off that they're going to get their titles back, and then they all leave the arena. Pentagon Jr. asks his new master, well, obviously his master all along, but now he knows who it is, Vampiro. Where are they going next? Vampiro says, somewhere very dark, along those lines, and they both laugh together.
Like, we're going to a dark place. Yeah. It's like so well shot.
Yeah.
It's like, because Vampiro just sort of creeps around the side, and he's back in the full makeup and everything, and it's just like, it's so good. But
he's got the hood and everything, like, he looks like a Sith Lord, right? That's exactly what he looks like. It's awesome. Drago and Aerostar, they leave, they kind of shake hands and say, "I'll see you again, my friend," and Drago flies out as a dragon, and Aerostar flies out because he can fly.
Because he's a rocket ship.
Because he's a rocket ship, yeah. Phoenix rides away in his absolutely awesome looking Phoenix-inspired car, and he's got the gift of the gods around his shoulder. But when he leaves, a man in a cowboy hat follows him, so that's going to lead us into maybe what happens with him going forward. And I think that's it.
It's a Pontiac, by the way.
A Pontiac, yeah. It's a sexy car, is it not?
Yeah.
It's a sexy car. So, yeah, all in all, the review. By the way, guys, we won't have time to review Raw. We may have to just leave it. Jesus, we're already almost 2 hours, but we'll make that decision.
Like, whether Raw was... Just like, Raw. Yeah, it was alright. Yeah. Next.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, this show was great. I thought it was a fine example of what Lucha Underground is. I thought it leaves enough loose threads for season 2. If we get it, it's still up in the air. In fact, one of the away from the ring segments that they showed was someone spray painting a question mark on the Lucha Underground banner, so that was interesting.
Yeah, that was quite cool.
And like I said, some might not like it. but I do. Quite a few people do, and it never lies to itself about what it is. It's bombastic. It's crazy.
It's an underground street fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's larger than life. It's supernatural. It's spectacular. It's dark. It's bloody. It's violent. It's progressive. It's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Lucha Underground obviously steals the show for this week. I don't think anyone had to really argue about that. It was a phenomenal showing. Just the fact that we actually run out of time to review Raw on our own show, I don't actually have any issue with that. I think it's a little bit telling. But I think one of the big differences in terms of WWE and Lucha Underground is that one of the things you look through the entire card of Ultima Lucha, every single match there had at least some story background to it. It had some care given to that story.
Yeah.
WWE's
given time.
Yeah, I mean WWE's mid card don't have that same care. They don't have proper storylines. I mean, one of the things you could point to at the moment, and this is in mid card, this is kind of upper mid card if you would call it that. Randy Orton and Sheamus. There's like no reason for those guys to be fighting with each other, but they are. And it's a little bit like in Lucha Underground, they're giving care to these guys. Every single match has a reason for it to happen, and it's got a little bit more meat and bones to it along those lines. So
that's it.
And it leads to a stronger overall card. That every match is something that you would be interested in watching, not just being one main event that WWE puts all their chips into and hopes that gets the job done. So, and they do this all in a third of the time. So that just should show you, how WWE shouldn't have an issue with 3 hours. But there is multiple problems with 3 hours, but the issues that they're having, you wouldn't associate them having 3 hours as being the
on
issue.
Something that's not a weekly episodic television show.
Well, it is weekly. It is episodic.
No, I know.
But I mean, they're obviously
like
going
to the same extent that like Raw, like with like always live and just like,
yeah.
Unless it's SmackDown, but
yeah, I get what you mean though. Yeah. It's it should be a good indication. And WWE should be looking at Lucha Underground. Like, if I were WWE, I'd rip off Lucha Underground big time. I really would. Not in terms of the world and the story, because you put that stuff in WWE.
I don't think they have to, because they got NXT.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is even some of the ways that they do some of their backstage stuff. I'm not asking for them to do exactly like it, but do something different. WWE is just too stale at the moment. They're too set in their ways. Lucha Underground has never been set in their ways. They've been doing new stuff all the time, so it's been pretty fun along those lines. Is there anything else that you want to talk about Lucha Underground, Ultima Lucha?
No.
As I said there, guys, we've already gone over 2 hours, so we're not going to review Raw on this show. Maybe if one of us gets some time over the week, we might do a retro review or something in terms of going back and reviewing it. If you guys are that much,
I mean, for all that I saw, the opening match was good.
Yeah, Neville
Rollins, that was good.
Heyman, gold again.
Oh yeah, Heyman was gold.
Pretty much. Well, you had some of the good diva action there as well, maybe. So
yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't call that a review, but maybe I don't know. I wouldn't bank on it, guys. But that is our review for the week. We did Ultima Lucha. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't watched Ultima Lucha, hopefully we've convinced you to go give it a try, because you may like it.
Find a way.
Yeah, you may like it, and then you may get bummed as us as we realise that it's not coming back for a while. It may not ever come back. That's the real shame, isn't it? There is a chance, guys, that Lucha Underground never comes back again.
Yeah.
That is sad.
Scary, isn't it?
Scary.
It's like, it was so good. And it won't get picked up for season 2. No.
Well, the story is that apparently El Rey have given them an offer, but I mean it cost $20 million for the first season of Lucha Underground. You may think that's a lot, but for the amount of episodes they put out, it is a lot, but they still did okay with it, right? But they're actually asking for more. They want to do more next season, so they want an improved offer. And
as it seems like they might be going for a new temple. Yeah,
that's the thought of it, which I don't mind. Hopefully they don't do the thing where they keep growing to the point that it's not really underground anymore. It needs to keep that aesthetic,
Yeah.
Along those lines, but
like now it seems like it was in a warehouse. Now it's going to be in a steel mill. I don't care.
It's more of a set than a wrestling arena, right?
Exactly. It's like the one thing I've always I said it earlier, and I've said it before about Lucha Underground. Is like it has to feel like the only way you knew it was going to happen is because you've received a text saying be here at 7.
Yeah, that's all you know about it. You know, it has to have that feeling. And if they get a proper arena of they wouldn't pack an arena of 10,000 people. As much as we like it, the brand is too new. You know, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I don't mind the moving location as long as it's to just as much of a gritty, dark, dank place as the original. Well, you could call this one the Lucha Underground episode. Jesus, we talked for well over an hour about Ultima Lucha, and I'd happily do it again. I hugely... If anything, this show was fun. If anything you get out of it, it was fun, right? Even if you didn't enjoy the storylines and you didn't enjoy some of the matches, it was a fun show, and it was different, right? For people that did enjoy it, it wasn't just fun, it was crazy over the top, it was amazing, right? Matt, should we wrap up the show?
I think it's best we do.
I think it's best we do. Do apologise not doing the Raw review, but like I said, if people are absolutely gagging for a Raw review, I'm sure even if I do it solo over the course of the week, we'll do something. If they want to tweet us about how amazing we are for eluding everyone to the world of Lucha Underground, what was the Twitter handle?
The Twitter handle of at Talk Wrestle Pod.
That is the one, Matt. That is it. Yeah.
It is it.
So you can tweet Matt there. And yes, Dan Massey, we know you've been doing it. You've left me. That's fine. I'm not hurt. I promise. I tell you what, more are bound to leave now for you, Matt. Are you happy with that? Are you really? Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good
sure.
with it.
Sure. Yeah. Got my eye on you. I got eye on you guys, the Let's Talk Wrestling fans. I got my eye on you, okay? But if you do want to be on my side, then you can leave a comment in the comment section below and ask me questions. You know, the way it is. Man, it just makes me sound bitter. I lose one fan to you, Matt, and then suddenly I'm getting all crazy. I'm getting paranoid.
Turn into a bitch.
Turn into a bitch, yeah. And it was last week me telling you I was going to fuck you. Maybe Tony's going mad.
Oh,
I'm losing the plot.
Weird.
Losing the plot. Maybe it's the announcement coming next week that maybe is driving me crazy. The announcement, Matt. The announcement. You're excited to let leak the announcement, aren't you?
I think it's time.
I think, yeah, all right. Oh, you want to do it now? Do you want to do it now?
Oh,
Or shall we do it next week?
We'll do it next week.
We do it next week. So, Matt, you're teasing me now. You're teasing the fans. You're teasing me. All right, yeah, a big announcement coming next week. I hope you guys do enjoy that. It may even get leaked, Hulk Hogan style, on Twitter. Maybe beforehand, Matt. Maybe over the course of the week. Maybe more incentive to go. Maybe on there. It is going to be a fun idea. And we hope you guys enjoy it. But for this week, if you did enjoy the show and you're a new listener, hit that subscribe button. Become one of our close to 350 subscribers. You can also, as I said, ask any questions on @WrestlePod, our Twitter handle, or in the comment section below. If you want to help us out even further, leave a like on the channel. Doesn't help us too much, but we'll take it anyway, of course. And we hope you guys have a great week. And I think I'm all plugged out.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you again next time.
We'll catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.